question occurs, lovely, thank you. If a question occurs to you that you would like to ask, if you could type question in the chat. You don't need to type the whole question. Kelly is very kindly there in the background, and she will make me a list of names of people who want to ask questions. Once we've gone through all the pre-submitted questions, we will then take questions from the floor. Okay. We do ask people, obviously, if they're not speaking, to keep their microphones muted. Kelly will be working on that. We do ask people, just sort of one person to be asking a question at once, just so that we can make sure we get through as many as possible and it's all nice and clear. As you would have just heard, we are recording the briefing, particularly for the benefit of people who couldn't make it this evening. All the recordings and all the FAQs on the project are on the website, and you'll see the address there at the bottom of the screen. And as I say, this is the latest in a series of briefings. The first one was held in January of this year, and there will be future briefings as well. So plenty of opportunity for people to ask questions and to make comments. Can we have the next slide, please? Wonderful, thank you. So we're going to just run through tonight's agenda quickly. I'm going to, in a moment, just introduce who is here to present on the project in terms of officers, and also our partners from Hill as well. As I said, we're going to then have a presentation, should be no more than 10 to 15 minutes, giving a progress update on the project. And then, as I said, we're going to open it up to a Q&A session, which is the main purpose of this evening. Just let a couple more people in, which is great. So if I can just introduce officers to you quickly and let you know who's here. So we have Ben Binns on behalf of Cambridge City Council. Ben is sort of overseeing the project. We also have Jake Smith, who is here from the City Council, and he is presenting on the development aspect of the project. We have Alison Conda, who will be talking about the community centre aspect of the project. And we also have Simon and Daryl here from Hill, who are the contractors, and they're really here to answer any technical questions about the build itself. Okay, so I think we're probably ready to start the presentation. Shall I hand over to you, Ben, for that?
Thank you. There, I've just unmuted myself. Can everyone hear me okay? Good.
Yes.
Getting nods. That's great. So you may have seen me last time we did this resident engagement meeting back in January this year, I think it was. So it's been a while, hasn't it? And it's been a crazy year in general. So we were hoping to make this physical. We're not quite there yet. But as schemes go, as we continue to have more, we will endeavour to make them physical, so that we can have a sort of more town hall Q&A. I just wanted to go through just a few points about the planning, what we promised and what we said we would deliver in terms of planning, and how it's going forward. That will be Jake who will take this forward. We have tried really hard to engage with residents as we've gone along. You know, development is hard, and you know, to try and engage with people as we go along is something the council takes a very strong view on, and this is part of engagement which we did prior to planning. We changed the scheme because of the engagement, and then when it went into planning there was further engagement, which was statutory engagement with that, and there's been a series of more engagement with the community as we've gone along. So we've got 106 council rented homes, 78 on the Meadows site and 29 on the Buchan site, 28 actually on the Buchan site. We've retained 92% of the open space, so we're just trying to build the homes in the community centre in that only in the 8% part of it. The community centre itself is a BREEAM Excellent community centre. So it's highly sustainable. It's a state-of-the-art community centre. Once it will be built, I'll let Alison talk more about that. The homes themselves will be gas-free. They will be very low carbon, low energy, triple glazed windows and doors, and again, flagship council rented homes, fully accessible with some wheelchair rented units there as well. The open space itself, we've got an improvement in biodiversity. Now that's not plucked from the air. We've had to get a DEFRA approved calculator and an ecologist to tell us how we can improve it by 60%. And there's also a new mugger, brand new state-of-the-art football pitch will be developed, new skate park and new play areas, and we can go through that in a little bit more detail later on. Let's not forget Buchan Street. We've also got the retail units there, retail unit and a cafe being re-provided as well. So it's a very exciting scheme, and I'm sure we've got lots of questions you want to ask. So I'm going to pass over to Jake, who will give you a bit more detail on that. But before I do, just to say we are committed to getting your questions and the engagement. We're here to stand and just make sure that we listen to you and understand what your needs are. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you, Ben. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jake Smith. I manage the day-to-day aspects of the project on behalf of the council. I work closely with Ben, Alison and colleagues from Hill and Kip to drive the development forward. So just a brief update as to where we are currently. So as you can see from here, the early works are complete and we are now into phase 1 of the construction project. So the piling works have commenced on the first 2 buildings, and the football pitch and the open space will be ready for archaeology and for improvement in the next couple of weeks, well, from this week, sorry. And just to reiterate, no work is commencing at Buckingham Street until phase 1 is complete. So just to show you what that means on the site. So here we have the temporary car park, which I alluded to, which is now been complete, and access from here is it's access from Daisy Close. The existing Meadow Centre car park, which was around here, is now closed to the public, and there is signage to direct Meadow Centre users around to Daisy Close itself. So here we have the red line which outlines the hoarding of phase 1. So within here you've got residential block C and the new community centre, for which piling works have commenced. So those who live near the site will have seen some large vehicles moving around the site which are drilling big holes into the ground. We also have the new car park, which will be it will serve the community centre when that's complete, and also a toddlers play area here. So this phase 1 will be complete in autumn 2022, at which point the centre and the park will be available for use by the public. So the green line here outlines the football pitch, which, as you'll have seen on the previous slide, will be shut from this week. And so the initial works here will be the archaeological dig, followed by improvement to the drainage, which is in line with the planning requirements. And then the pitch will be reseeded in line with Sport England requirements, and that should be ready by summer 2022. So during this period, the pitch will be fenced off to the public. However, the public will still be able to walk around the perimeter should they wish. The mugger, the multi-use games area, will still be available during that time for an impromptu kickabout, and temporary goalposts will be set up on the open space as well. And during this time, the rest of the open space will be available as well. So once, back to the construction, once the phase 1 is complete in autumn 2022, the existing Meadow Centre will be demolished and work can start on phase 2. So there'll be hoarding erected around this area, and that will mean the construction of residential block A and residential block B and the car parks that will serve them. And then once the football pitch is complete, you've got the mugger will be closed and this play area here will be closed off. So improvements will be made to those. And then this area around here will still be available. So that's still the majority of the open space. While this play area is closed, the equipment will be moved over into this location, so people can still use it. And then when this is complete, the woodland walk area around here will be will commence, and it will be completed in summer 2024. So at all times, as we've previously stated, there will be the majority of the open space available to the public. And I should note that immediate works that might affect people in the near future, we've got this summer, we hope to commence with drainage works to connect the site to the main sewer. So there may be a single lane closure on St Catherine's Road, and that will be planned during the summer holidays so as to cause minimal disruption to community, local schools and residents. And also on Arbury Road, there could be a single cycle lane closure whilst we commence with the completion of the site entrance here. So again, that will be during the summer holidays to minimise disruption to the local community. Okay, so moving on, here's just a timeline of what everything I've just been through. So drainage and site entrance, summer holidays, phase 1 complete by autumn 2022, and then phase 2 complete by 2024. Buckingham Street will commence in autumn 2022 once the new Meadows Centre is open, and it will complete in summer 2024. So it's obviously quite a large project, and it's going to be hugely beneficial to the community when it's complete. We're trying to be as open and forthcoming as possible and engaging with the community. And there are lots of opportunities for the local community to get involved in the project. Here's a summary of some things that we're doing to keep the community informed and involved. So first of all, in early June, we issued our first monthly resident newsletter. So this is an update for residents whose homes immediately surround the site by a hill. They give an update as to what's been happening, what's going to happen in the near future on the construction project, and anything that could affect those residents. And it provides contact details for Hill and Council should anybody need to be in touch. We've also got, as you're aware, the resident engagement meeting. So we had the first meeting in January. We've got a meeting right now, and the next one we hope will be in about 6 months' time, and then 6 months on from that, and so on and so forth. And as Ben alluded to earlier, we hope that we can meet face to face as soon as possible. We've also been working with the local skate community. So we've been working with Camskate, who represent the skateboarders and that community across the city, to design a brand new skate area that's going to be used as part of the completed scheme. And we've come up with a fantastic new design for a skate park, which will be available for use by all ages and abilities. We're also engaging with 2 local schools, so St Lawrence's Primary School across the road and Orchard Park Community School, to get them involved in the archaeological dig that's commencing on the football pitch next week. So they will be able to come along and see how the archaeologists work and get involved with that, learn a bit about history. And we've also invited Cambridge United down to the pitch as well, and there'll be some representatives there in attendance to show their support for the football pitch improvements and our investment in local community sport. And we're going to have one of the best football pitches in Cambridge that's available to the public once we're complete. So we're really proud of that. We want to show that to the community. We've also invited the community to provide proposals for some sort of mural or artwork to brighten up the hoarding that surrounds the open space. And we're welcoming proposals until the 1st of August. We've already had some interest from local artists, and we've engaged with community groups such as Romsey Mill and Cambridge Arts Academy So we're looking forward to seeing what proposals come forward, and hopefully something great will be going up in the summer. We're also engaging, well, we plan to engage with residents next spring. So we've got a planned tidy up of residents' gardens. Maybe there's people who might need a bit of help on the upkeep of their garden space. So we've got that planned for the future, and we're looking forward to that. And as of today, we have uploaded to our website play equipment consultation. So we're inviting residents to have their say in some of the play equipment that will be used in the final scheme. Details can be found on this link down here, which is www.cambridge.gov.uk/get-involved. And residents can visit this page to see which options they can choose from and what sort of equipment they want to see in their park in the future. And that's it from me, and I'll pass over to Alison to speak a little bit more about the community centre itself.
Okay. Thanks very much, Jake. Just to introduce myself, I'm Alison Conder. I work for the community services team at Cambridge City Council, and I've been working with my housing colleagues Ben and Jake to design and do the detailed design on the new community centre building to replace Buckingham Street and the current Meadows building. So we'll have one large new centre replacing two existing centres, and the new centre will be able to accommodate all of the priority uses from both of those centres. We've phased the scheme so that both existing centres will remain open until the new centre is completed and ready for Buckingham Street users and Meadow users to decant into the new building. And then those existing centres will be demolished to allow the housing scheme to go ahead. And we've done that so that we don't destabilise any of the existing community groups or users of the current centre. There will be hopefully seamless provision and space available for community activities to continue throughout the whole of the build programme. As Ben alluded to earlier, the new building is large. It's 1,800 square feet of community space, built over 2 stories. And it's a complex building, so we have engaged very widely with most of the existing user groups who use both buildings and have particular requirements for their uses and needs out of that building. For example, some of the cardiovascular groups, the MS groups, and some groups who've got particular accessibility and other bespoke requirements that we need to take into account. So just moving on, I will take you through a sort of a walkthrough of the ground floor and the first floor of the building. Now we've almost completed the detailed design work, and it's been a lengthy process to make sure we get as much feedback input as we can and make sure that this building is really going to be state of the art and fit for the future for many years to come as well, and serve as many different changing community uses as possible as the city continues to grow and change. So I think Jake's going to put his cursor at the entranceway into this building. And as you come into the front door, the staff office is on the left-hand side where the community centre team will be based, the operational team. And there's a disabled wheelchair-friendly customer access point here so that people can raise a query with staff. There'll also be electronic display boards and things included so that people can see which activities are happening in which space in the centre as well. There's a large sort of central lobby space, and off that space is 2 large 13-people lifts that will take people up to the first floor. They are double-sided lifts and wheelchair accessible lifts. They're double-sided to enable them to be used in the event of a fire. So if the fire alarm goes off and there's people on the first floor, you can continue to use the lifts to evacuate this building. And they're very large lifts as well, so we'll be able to get people out through the ground floor hall. There are accessible toilets on this floor, and they're all gender neutral toilet cubicles. So those toilets will serve the ground floor, and there's a mirror image of a similar number of toilets on the first floor as well, which are also gender neutral. The ground floor hall space on the right hand side of the building will be used to continue to deliver some of the youth activities that take place in the current Meadows Centre run by Romsey Mill. And we've included a bespoke music and recording pod which can be wheeled out into the activity space and used to basically generate interest from young people, particularly young people in the area to engage with the services that Romsey Mill offer. And there's a kitchen next door to that music space that can be used for teaching either young people healthy eating and cooking skills, etc., or just for general community use for activities that happen in that hall. And this space can also be divided into two and hired separately or opened up and used as one large space. So moving on, we've also got the ground floor changing spaces, which will serve this activity room. We're expecting the youth space to be used for some of the cardiovascular and exercise functions in the building as well. And we've got mirror image changing rooms, which will be male and female changing during the day, accessible from within the centre. And then at the weekends, when perhaps the rest of the centre is not open, they can be directly accessed from the outside, and they become team changing rooms for the football pitches. And we've got a staff drop down and workspace for our City Council staff, the hub team staff and partner organisations to work in as well within the building. We've also got a brand new cafe that will be that's been designed carefully with the current team and using some market expertise to help guide the City Council in what a cafe offer could be in this location. And that also links directly out onto a cafe terrace space that will overlook the new multi-use games area, the play equipment areas, and St Albans rec as well. So it's going to be a fantastic space. And we have sort of drop down IT and workspaces planned within that cafe area, so people can just drop in and use the IT services and printing to do online application forms and things. The final space in this ground floor footprint is the Meadow Children and Family Wing space, which will be used by the current service providers, and they will have their own safeguarded enclosed garden to the outside next to the cafe terrace, which only they can access. And their activity space has been designed to meet their needs with a lot of engagement and input from the two that run that service in the current Meadows building. So they've got their own kitchenette, their own bespoke toilets, a little office space, etc., etc. So there's a main stairwell that leads up to, there's also, we've had to include from a building control point of view, we've got a changing places facility included within the Meadows scheme now. This is a space for people who need to access changing facilities anywhere in the city or dropping off the A14 to come and use. There's a hoist and changing facilities, etc., in that space for people to use. So we've got one now at Clay Farm in the south of the city, and now we've got a north of city changing places facility for people to access, which is brilliant. And then there's the main stairwell leads up to the first floor area, and on this floor we have the main sports hall, a double height sports hall room which can be used for all sports activities, for hiring for conferences, etc. And we're also fitting out this space with specialist acoustic and lighting so that it can be used for community arts, theatre and events to take place in this space, which we've not had in either Buckingham Street or the current Meadows facility. So we will be looking to see if we can programme that space for those kind of activities moving forward as well for the community. We've got 4 meeting rooms located up here as well, which can work either as breakout rooms for the main conference hall, or they can be booked separately and divided or opened up if people need a larger space. We've tried to build in as much flexibility and opportunity for people to have different size spaces for different uses here. Obviously, both of the lifts come up to this level, and as you can see, it's got the double doors for people to be able to access into the lifts to use them in the event of a fire. The other main space on this area is a nursery space. So the nursery is currently located at Buchan Street Neighbourhood Centre. We've involved the current nursery provider in very detailed conversations about the design of this first floor nursery space. It's got an outside play terrace area that links through double doors directly from the activity space, and it's got a glass canopy for shading and weather protection, so they'll be able to use that outside space all year round as well, you know, and a fantastic new indoor activity space. They've got their own kitchen and special toilets and an office space as well, and there's a direct stairwell that means that they can evacuate children out down that stairwell very quickly, or mobility impaired into the lifts and then down and out through the ground floor hall. So a lot of thought has gone into the design and function of these spaces to be able to use them as much as possible. So please post any questions about the community centre spaces and features in the chat, or say that you want to raise a question and I'll answer it at the end.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Alison. Did you want to talk about the naming of the community centre as well?
Yeah, so as with most of the new buildings that the city's building, we'd like the community to input into naming of the new community centre. And I went out and asked for suggestions from existing user groups at both centres, and from staff and from the ward councillors about what we should call this brand new community building. And listed here are the suggestions that have been received in, and we are looking this evening to see if people want to give us a steer as to what a preferred name would be. And if you have a view, please email into the email address that's at the bottom of this slide, and just give us your views on what the new building should be called.
That's great, thanks. And we can repeat that email address at the end of the meeting as well, just so that people have it. Okay, so I know we have a few, thank you very much all of you for that. I know we have few key contacts here. So for day-to-day concerns about the site, you have a telephone number there, and you also have an email address at Hill. Specific concerns about the any aspect of the construction process, you have Nick Milne's email address there, and more sort of general concerns about the overall development, Jake would be your main contact, and his email address is there as well. Jake or Ben, is there anything else you want to say about the key contacts, just quickly?
I was just going to say that, yeah, as Alex said, I'm happy to chat or correspond with anyone about the project, any aspects of it, and also that we've kept a record of all correspondence that we've had since the last meeting, and I've posted that in a nice legible list on this page as well. So if anybody wants to see any queries that have come in since that meeting, they can see them on here.
That's great, thank you. That may answer many questions. So I believe we have a few pre-submitted questions. We're going to get those up on screen now. I'm going to read them out as well, just quickly, and then the relevant officers will answer them.
Apologies, the first question's been missed out. Shall I read out the question?
If you would, yes, please. Yeah.
If I can get hold of it. Sorry, bear with me. Do you want to start with the second question while I see if I can locate it?
We'll start with that, and this may answer some of the questions that I know we've had in the chat, but any that aren't answered, we will come to them. Anyone who's posted a similar question in the chat, I will come to you in case you want any sort of further clarification. So our first question here is: the existing Meadows Centre car park is for use by the community centre only. Historically, it's not been managed and has been used by parents with children at St Lawrence's for a school drop-off. This has caused issues for the community and meant a lot of users for the centre have had to seek on-street parking. We've continued to let St Lawrence's know about the impact of the school drop-off, both on the community centre car park and the wider residential streets. The new car park will have a barrier and will be managed by the community centre to ensure use only by the community who want to use the centre. School drop-off parking remains an issue for St Lawrence's School to manage and resolve with parents who arrive by car. The Meadows development will have 3 new car parks to deal with traffic it generates, 79 new car parking spaces being provided in total, and 9 of those will be disabled spaces. There's also a requirement to provide a keep clear zone at the signalised junction of Arbury Road and St Catherine's Road. A new cycle and pedestrian crossing is being provided on Arbury Road, and this is the entirety of the upgrades noted within the Section 106 and planning permission.
Sorry, Alex.
I've just
that was
realised
obviously-
what you meant, Jake.
That
Yeah,
was the
sorry.
answer. So
Okay.
I'll just give a brief outline of the question. So it was related to the traffic that already exists in the area and about the school drop-off and pick-up times, and asking how we're going to manage that with the potential influx of traffic that this development could bring about.
Lovely, thank you, and apologies for that, everyone. I realised halfway through what I was doing. Okay, so the next question is from AB, and it's asking about when construction work will start at Buchan Street and when the shop and cafe will close and for how long. Jake, do you want to take that one, or Ben?
Sorry, I'm happy to. So
you.
yeah, so construction will start autumn 22. The cafe owner and the shop owners are aware, and we will be in constant dialogue with them. We will be looking at alternative or temporary accommodation, which we've done for other businesses in a development called Colville 3, and there the leaseholders of the shops were offered temporary accommodation. Now they may not choose to take that up, but we will endeavour to make sure that a similar option is offered as well.
That's great, thank you, Ben. The next question from MS is there going to be a bus route that stops outside the Meadows? At the moment, the bus doesn't stop outside the Meadows, and that does have an impact on older or less able people from using community centre. Who would like to take that? Ben, can you take that one?
Yeah,
maybe
I'm happy to.
Thank you.
This is something that was asked for last time, so we will continue to engage with the county council on that. There is some limited influence we have, simply because the bus are done by county council and contracts are in place, but it's something we will bring up and continue to pursue on that. Unfortunately, I don't have anything to report back at this stage.
Okay, thank you for that, Ben. Okay, the next question from AP, will there be enough spaces for the football pitch and basketball court? Who'd like to take that, Ben or Jake?
Jake, are you happy with that one?
Yeah, so there will, as I've previously noted, we're improving the football pitch. So there will be a lovely new football pitch available from summer 2022. During the time when it's out, there will be football and basketball provision in the Mugger, and there will also be football provision outside of the existing football pitch, just where the old zip line was. And then once the development is complete, we'll have lovely new football pitch and football and basketball provision in the Mugger. And I don't know whether the community staff will be hiring out the sports hall for football and basketball, but there will be sports available in the sports hall as well.
That's great, thank you very much. The next question, how big is the playground going to be? And could we, I'm guessing, provide facilities to accommodate toddlers and older children? Is that one for you, Jake, or for Ben?
Yeah, so as people will be able to see if they go on the consultation document, which I showed a link for earlier, there are 2 playground facilities being provided. So one is a smaller toddlers area, which will be closed, fenced and hedged off from from the risks of the wider park. It will have some lovely new play equipment which people can choose from. That's roughly 330 square meters. And then there is a bigger, kind of more of an adventure park option for the slightly older children further down towards the southwest of the park, which will be 850 square meters. And again, we've got loads of great play equipment planned, and people can choose from the options there.
That's great, thank you. And now a question which I know a couple of people have brought up: how much green space will there be left on the site? Is that one for you, Ben, do you think?
Yeah,
Or-
that's fine. So we have measured this, and we had to measure it for our planning submission. Planning submission effectively is a legal document. We have to adhere to it, so we can't change it, and that remains at 92%. I think it's just a shade over is being retained, and we mentioned before there will be a 60% improvement on biodiversity, and again that is using a government calculator, DEFRA they call it, which gives scores for the type of plants we put in to calculate whether there's an improvement or not.
That's great. Thank you for that, Ben. The next question: will the trees and the wilder part of the park at the sort of further side, will that be retained? And will the trees be retained?
Yes, so there's a number of existing trees that will be retained. So I'm not talking about the sort of southern part where there's a bit of a meadow there, the sort of northern part where a lot more of the construction is taking place. A number of those trees we have to keep. That is protected. We're also planting 109 new trees around the site. If people are interested in where they are, we can show them and link them to where that document is that details all the additional trees. And then the existing sort of woodland meadow area will be retained and enhanced. So we see that very much as part of the park, and see that as trying to make it a little bit more accessible, so you can walk through it for dog walking or running or whatever people want to do. But that's very much part of the park.
Lovely, thanks, Ben. The next question, I know, Alison, you've touched on that, but maybe we could just go over the answer to this again, just
Sure.
quickly. Will there be
Yeah.
access to the toilets at the centre?
There will. So on the ground floor, there will be 8 gender neutral toilets and 8 also on the first floor. And 8 of these will be accessible in total, and they will all be available during the centre opening hours. And as I explained, the changing rooms will be accessible to teams from the outside, and they will also have accessible toilet and showering facilities within them too.
So the 2 changing rooms and the toilets, those are accessible from outside of the building, is that correct?
The changing rooms will be accessible from the external of the community building, but you'll need a keypad access to gain entry into it, so they're not freely available to the public. It will be part of the managed facility. Okay,
I think that might be what the question's driving at. Thank you for that clarification. Okay. So that is all the pre-submitted questions that we have had. We're going to take questions from the floor now. I have a list, thank you for that, Kelly, of people that have typed questions in the chat. If you have a question that has been answered or partially answered, I will still come to you to see if you need any clarification on your question that you've asked. So our first question was from Helen. Helen, Kelly will unmute you in a moment. I know you asked a question about the football pitch. Is there anything further that you'd like to know?
I think I just wanted to understand, really, if once they start the archaeology, does that mean that the football pitch stays closed for the duration until it's all completed? Because we've still got quite a lot of the other half of the park fenced off that's not accessible from where all the earth was shifted from the car park construction. So that side's a complete mess. And then if we then have the football pitch completely fenced off right through the summer holidays, that just seems not ideal timing.
Okay, thank you for that. Jake, did you want to take that, or Ben? I know we have some extra information on the football pitch, I think.
Yeah, so the football pitch, it will be closed for the duration after the archaeology, when the archaeology starts. The dirt that's been left by on the other side of the park, that should be removed in the next few weeks. So that should be available again. But as we
But the
noted,
pitch will be shut from tomorrow.
the pitch will be shut, yes, but the mugger will remain open so people can still play football in it. With the perimeter, people will still be able to walk around the perimeter, and we'll be providing goalposts nearby where the existing pitch is so that people will be able to have a kick around there. People
use the football pitch for more than just football. It's part of the open space that daily users use, and if we've already got a huge chunk of it that is a mess and isn't going to be cleared up for a few weeks, when the summer holidays start in 2 weeks' time, I don't think that's acceptable.
Can I come in there, Jake?
Yeah.
So it's never easy. The timing is trying to minimise the impact to the community and the football clubs. The football pitch at the moment is underused by the clubs because it's not in a very good fit state. It's uneven. I call it an ankle twister. You know, it's one of those which could cause damage if you're playing on it. It's going to be replaced with a football pitch that's drained and seeded to Sports England standard, which is a very, very high standard. It's going to be one of the best football pitches you'll have in Cambridge once completed, and it will be a vital asset to the community. The only way we can get there is by closing it off, digging it for the drainage and so on. That does mean an immediate short-term restriction, but the long-term benefits will be felt by the community for years to come. So there's a bit of pain there, but we're hopefully you'll see the gain in the longer term on that.
Thank you for that, Helen. I think we've got about a list of another 10 questions, so I think we've got about 15 minutes left. I am going to move on to the next question, but I am sure, Ben, Jake, you'd be happy to be in contact with Helen about that.
Sure. Okay,
thank you.
I just wanted to say, so you said that actually it's being used on a daily basis, so it's not being underused at all. Just
okay.
Piping it.
All right, thanks, Boris. If we can keep to the questions, that would be helpful. Anna, I think you have a question next about the trees.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm still not sure, because we're talking about you just mentioned the wilder part, which if you look from St. Albans Road towards Meadows, there's the wider part on the left that is going to be retained, but you just mentioned that the play area for the children are going to be moved in a phase 2 over that side. So I'm not entirely sure if the football pitch is already being blocked because that's some work being done here. You're gonna close the small toddler area that we've got now, where that is going to be moved, not exactly where the trees are now. I don't know if I expressed myself well, but this is the concern. You said that the playground's gonna be moved there, but they're where? They're where the big trees are at the moment?
Okay. Are you happy to explain that a bit more, Ben?
Yeah. So what we're trying to, it's a bit like a jigsaw. So some things will be moved while construction's going on. So what we're saying is, for the play area that exists, the round play area that exists at the moment, when we are developing that area to upgrade the open space, that play area will be moved further south, just not in the football pitch area, not in the wood area, but in the space in between, so that you will always have a play area when the adventure playground area is being dug out. So that will always be in place. Once all the open space is complete, that play area won't exist where we've moved it to, because you'll now have an adventure playground and you'll now have a smaller children's park further north by the mugger. So what we're trying to do is make sure you've always got a little play area and you've always got some open space, no matter what phase of the construction is going on.
And the trees will be untouched. You just try to tidy it up to make it slightly more accessible, maybe.
If you're referring to the trees in the meadow area in the south part of it, that is being retained. There are some trees that are going because of the construction in the northern part. Very happy to share what we did in the what we submitted in planning, so you can actually see all the trees that are coming out and all the new trees we're putting in. But basically the big trees have to be retained. On a simple answer, the bigger ones have to be retained. There's a few smaller ones that we're having to lose because of road access or buildings that are too close there, but the tree office is very protective in Cambridge and has saved lots and lots of trees on lots and lots of different sites, not just our site.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ben. We're going to move on to the next question, which is Wendy. I know there are a few people who have asked more than one question. If we could take your first question that you submitted first, and then we will come back to you once we sort of work through everyone else. So Wendy, I think you had a question about the car park. Did you? I know we've talked about the car park. Did you need more clarification on that?
Yes, just the car park on the map, on your the open space map. You've got the temporary car park. You've also got an extra bit with the grass area that has got a sort of more additional parking. It seems to take more space than than you have outlined on the plan there, unless you have arranged it completely differently, because it goes across. You go in and then it goes down to the right, and then there are more parking spaces.
Okay.
Simon or Daryl might be best placed to answer that question about the overflow car park.
I'm happy to come in. So yeah, we had to, as part of the planning and the agreements with Cambridge City Council, we had to provide the same amount of parking bays as the existing community centre car park, which was 40, I believe.
It's more than that.
Okay. Yep. So essentially we've had to provide the same amount of parking bays, which is the reason why we've had to put in a temporary overflow area. When the new community centre is built and the new car park is built, that overflow car park area will be removed and then included into the open space area, as you can see, as shown with the green line.
So if you need it now for the community centre, which isn't as big as it will be, how come you can take it away when the community centre is built and will be all the residents around as well? Why don't you need as much parking as you do now?
So the car park here has around 20 spaces, I believe, or thereabouts. So this additional bit here provides that extra number. And then this car park, once it's complete, this will have 39 spaces, which is
less than ours.
So if I can just come in here, I mean, the council have declared a climate emergency, and part of that means that we need more sustainable modes of transport. And so therefore, parking is one all developers struggle with, because on the one hand, people say there's not enough, there should be more. On the other hand, we have other people who are saying there's too much parking, and we're probably somewhere in between there. Just to a point of clarification, community centre is bigger than the one at the moment. I believe it's 1,800 square metres, so it's not smaller.
No, that's what I'm saying, that the parking is going to be smaller for the size of the community centre, but the community centre is bigger than it is presently. So it makes me feel like if you haven't drawn it on the plan as it is on the ground now, how do we trust the other outlines that you have done?
And are you happy to take that?
Yeah, this is a planning document, and so this is what will be built. And if for whatever reason the council, the contractor, the partnership do something completely different, then the planning authorities will have something to say about that. That's not something we would want to do. So I think you only have to go by the other 542 homes that are on site at the moment, of which well over 100 have been handed over, to I think demonstrates our commitment and to fulfilling planning obligations on that. So I think certainly the planning authorities have a degree of trust with what we deliver and what we say we were going to deliver in terms of planning on that.
Okay, thank you for that, Ben. Wendy, we've got 8 minutes left, so I am going to move on to the next question. I'm sure that Ben is happy to be in correspondence with you on that if you need any more clarification. We have, it's more of a comment, I think, really, from Annette about Buchan Street currently being closed. Annette, did you have a particular question around that you wanted to ask? Can you, Kelly, can you unmute Annette?
Oh, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yeah,
We
I
can
know
hear you.
it's been shut for ages. It's being currently used as a food hub. When's it actually going to, will it ever be open again for its old use? Because that's not really what you said. You said it would be kept for its old use until the new Meadows was built. Thank you.
Alison, could you come in?
Yeah, sure. So obviously during the lockdowns and the pandemic emergency response work in the city, we had to close all of our community centres for a period of time, and now we are under significant restrictions still about what activities we can still offer from both centres. Cambridge Sustainable Food were working with the City Council to respond to urgent food need that came up with people having to isolate and also being unable to go out themselves during the lockdown periods. They had to relocate from Cambridge Regional College, I believe. They were using their kitchens temporarily to respond to that crisis. They had to leave there, and we offered them premises at Buchan Street because we weren't able to reopen the centre at that point for community activity. We are now currently working to find a permanent base for Cambridge Sustainable Food to relocate from Buchan Street Neighbourhood Centre. In anticipation, we will be able to return eventually to unrestricted activity at both the Meadows and Buchan Street. But at the moment, we've still got significant restrictions on how many people can actually access those buildings and use them. But we are working hard to make sure that we time the relocation of Cambridge Sustainable Food, hopefully in time for unrestricted use of both of these centres getting back to business as usual.
Well, that
very much.
Well, our Sadie Derby probably makes up. Will it be on July?
Did you catch that, Alison?
No, I didn't, sorry.
Could you just repeat that for us, Annette? Annette, are you still with us? Okay, I think we might have to come back to Annette if she rejoins us. The next question we have.
The night.
Sorry, what was that, Annette? Okay, I think we are going to move on to the next question, which is Darren's question. So it was whether the IT facilities will be available for public use. Are you able to answer that, Alison?
Yes, so we're replicating the kind of customer service area and IT facilities for people to within the cafe space, so that people can log on and do online application forms and printing off of documents, etc. there. So it'll be pretty much re-providing the services that are currently available both at Buchan Street and the Meadows exactly as they are.
Great, thank you.
Are they services that you can just walk in and use, or are they paid services like a library, for example?
They'll be offered on exactly the same terms as the services at the Meadows currently. So people can log on to the computer.
I'm not sure what they are.
Well, Alison, Alison, you're muted.
Sorry, I would need to ask my colleague, either Eve Desura, who runs the Meadows Centre, to clarify that point, if Eve can be unmuted.
Are you able to do that, Kelly? Okay, I think we're going to move on. Darren, I know we've been in contact on a couple of things. I'm happy to follow that up with you. Okay. I'll get you that answer.
Okay.
The next No problem. The next question is actually from Councillor Shield. Patrick, I hope you don't mind, but as we've only got a few minutes left, I'd like us to table that question and move on to a residents question, if that's okay. We have a question from Lucy next. Lucy, would you like to ask your question, please?
Sorry, I thought I typed it.
Yeah, would you just like to remind us what the question is?
So all the people that are playing on the football pitch now, which Ben said is very underused, and all the people that are playing on the Mugger and the little park, obviously you have kind of answered the question already, but I don't think that it's going to be satisfactory for, you know, the capacity that we've got at the moment, to be fair. It's just going to be very horrible.
So what's your question, Lucy?
Well, as I said, you kind of answered it earlier. If you read what I typed, I was asking where are the people who are using the rec now, so the football pitch and the Mugger, where they're going to go. But we've been told they're going to go here, Alex, where the zip line was. If you can see on this piece of ground here, they're going to be able to play football. So that's interesting.
Okay, so you don't have any further questions?
No, sorry, I don't.
Okay. We will move on to, I think Darren is next on the list. Darren, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Oh, hi, sorry, yeah, it was just the speaker earlier mentioned that there were going to be alternatives offered to the retail space while the Buckingham Street retail space is constructed.
Lovely.
Just wondering where those are they going to be local alternatives? Where are they going to be?
So if I can come in there, what we did for Colville 3, which is in Cherry Hinton, there were 4 retail units, and we looked at various sites, but we found one just round the corner, because as you can imagine, if you are I think there's a baker there, a hairdresser, bike shop, they all want to be in the immediate location of where they are, and so we try and get as close as possible. We're aware about the cafe and the shop being very valuable for the local community at Buchan Street. So we would look at what areas are available, whether it's council land or possibly school or county land. We have to look at safety, and then once we find a spot, we then go back to the cafe owner and retailer and say, we've got us placed, are you interested in doing that? So that will be the process on that. We haven't identified anything a space yet. We've got a few areas we want to explore, right. But as we get closer, we'll speak to the cafe and retail owner.
Okay, and presumably you'll let us know where they are.
Yeah, if we find a spot and they're happy with the spot and they're happy with the moving and the whole process, then obviously we'll need to do signage to let the community know.
Sure. Okay, thanks.
Thank you for that, Ben, and thank you, Darren. I'm just conscious that it is 7 o'clock. We have 4 questions left on the list. Are people happy generally for us to just finish those questions? Is that okay? Should take us another few minutes. Lovely, thank you. The next question was from Anna, and it was about the any potential cost of using the Mugger, the multi-use games area.
Yes, the question also is, when you do this pitch, the new basketball one and the Mugger, is that one of these things that's going to be fenced off and you need some sort of a patch to get in, or is just a free access, anybody can go in there whenever we want?
Yeah, no, it'll be exactly the same as the existing Mugger, so it'll be free access. It will also have lights which are under the control of the community centre management team as well, so that we will sort of, it's a difficult balance to give people access but manage any sort of antisocial behaviour that might happen on multi-use games areas. But we plan to give people free access and then obviously close the lights off as part of the planning condition requirements after a certain time.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Alison. The next question we had was from Boris, and it was about parking overspill. Boris, I know you haven't asked a question yet. Would you like to ask your question?
I thought I typed it. So my concern is basically, as I explained there, obviously at the moment, as you said, people are using the existing community center parking, which is not great, but at least that doesn't overload all the residential streets nearby. I mean, my concern is that for 78 dwellings, how many, what was it, 40 something parking spaces are planned? And as I said, you can't really fight climate emergency by reducing available car park spaces, but people will have the cars regardless. And my concern is that especially if community center parking will be off limits for them, off their reach, which is fair enough. My concern is with so many dwellings planned, that they'll just be piling on the Verges and Daisy Close and St. Catherine's Road, anywhere they can find parking. So my question is, was there anything planned to prevent that?
Jake or Ben, are you able to answer that?
What do you want to do, Jay? Do you want me to do that?
Underground parking would be a solution.
I think you might be able to answer that one, Ben.
Yeah. Okay. So first question. Yeah, there will be a traffic management TRO, we call them, so that to ensure that any illegal parking they'll receive a fine or ticket in terms of that. The tenants that will be given spaces in the new units won't have an automatic parking right. They will have to apply for that, and they will know in the local area that they won't be able to park. They won't be able to park in the Daisy Close area because that will be protected. So we have to provide all of this information to the planning authorities, who quite rightly ask the same question you've been asking, and what they have to do is balance those pressures and what the environmental objectives are as well. And as I say, we are always caught in the middle. There are some people saying it's just not enough parking, and there are some people who are saying there's way too much, and people should be encouraged to use public transport, greener forms of transport, and so on. And so I appreciate that, and we're right bang in the middle, where we are being told, and from two different groups, not enough parking, too little parking. But it is our job to demonstrate a decent management approach to that. And we thought long and hard about how we do that from a housing perspective and from a community centre perspective. And we will continue to monitor that and make sure it works for the community. It's not a case of just building it and seeing what happens. We will continue to monitor and make sure it's right, because at the end of the day, the council doesn't go away. This is the advantage of having the council as a developer. They don't disappear. We're still the council, we're still here, and we know you're going to bring it up if there's a problem. So it's in our interest to get a solution that works for everybody.
Thank you, Ben. Wendy, you had a further question about Verges, I think. Is that correct?
Yes, it's only a minor thing. When they had to do the electrics extra from St Albans Road, they dug up our Verges, and they moved all the subsoil to the top and all the good soil to the bottom, and the Verge is just brown mud now. Is it going to be reseeded or even redone completely, because it's a mess?
Okay, Jake or Ben, are you able to answer
Is this the Verges on St Albans Road?
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's county council highway land, so it would have been in conjunction with them. They would have provided approval for that work to go ahead. And it's their response.
When the other work has been done on city fibre, etc., they're very careful. They move the topsoil and the turf and to the side, and then replace it and to reseed it. Now this is just, I think if you are in control of this build, you have to be in control of the whole thing and not just parts of it.
If it's on St Albans Road, then it's outside of our remit. It's not related to our project. It's county council highway land.
Well, it was the only reason it was dug up was for the electricity for for the works for your workplace on the recreation ground. It was dug up, that little white box that's
okay,
on the
I apologise.
and then it was done for the workmen, because they couldn't take it from the community centre because there wasn't enough.
I apologise. I thought you were referencing the city fibre works that were
No,
happening
no, the
down
city
there.
fibre would be
Okay.
fine, but
Yeah, well, if there are any issues with that, then I'm happy to attend site and have a look at it and get whoever we need to make it much better and make good.
good.
Great, thank you. That sounds like a good constructive way forward. Thank you, Jake. We're going to take one last question now from Daniel. I know, Anna, that you had a further question about the football pitch. Can we follow that up with you after the meeting? Because we are at almost 7:10 now. Daniel, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Just to ask if there's anything stopping some of the new play equipment being built earlier than kind of the end of things, because a lot has been pointed out that a lot has been lost. And from the sounds of it, the football pitch as well will be lost over the past few years. So it would, if it, I don't see a reason why some of it can't be brought forward. Obviously, there's the consultation, but after that, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Ben or Jake, are you able to answer that?
Yeah, I'm happy to, Jake. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Do you want
fine.
to?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of the equipment's been removed because of health and safety by the council, because it was very old, like the skate ramp, which was particularly dangerous. So that will get replaced. In an ideal world, where the football pitch will be closed for a couple of months, would build the brand new park areas without much disruption to the open space as quick as we can, and then we do the houses and so on and so forth. It's very difficult on this site to keep the open space open as much as we can and build houses. So I think the focus has been building the houses and the community centre first, and then keeping the existing play equipment operational, and then replacing it with the new kit that's been ordered and built. We're open to ideas, but ultimately there is a program now set that's if in effect being approved by the council and planning. So it's a bit difficult to change the reorganisation of that. Our housing team and our finance team have to be informed of the program, and so they're already planning when the new tenants can move in, because we've got 2,000 people on the waiting list. So we're under pressure from all sorts to deliver the scheme on time. Some of the equipment we've tried to ensure is more accessible. We moved the table tennis element to it, but some of it is out of our hands if it fails a health and safety test. So it's not an ideal answer, I'm afraid, but I hope you would look at the website and see some of the kit we are putting in, and be reassured that it's getting replaced with some really nice bits of equipment. And so, as I say, it's a bit of short-term gain for some real long-term gain, short-term pain for long-term gain.
Thank you for that, Ben. We are almost at 7:15 now, so I am going to draw this to a close for now. Duly noted. Thank you, Wendy. Jake, are we able to just remind people of the email addresses to get in touch if there are any issues that arise sort of in between now and the next resident engagement event? Yeah, so these are the key contacts. And also, can either you or Ben just explain where the answers to any of the questions from today's event or the recording will be available for anybody who wasn't able to make this evening?
Yeah, so everything will be posted on this web address here. This takes you through to the page where everything Meadows oriented related to the construction and development is from the council side.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming along. We will see you at the next resident engagement event, and please do, use those email addresses and get in touch if you have any issues in the meantime. And I wish you a pleasant rest of your evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
Cheers.
very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.